Great, so mobile is here to stay, and in my message box 5 minutes ago, ping, 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 arrived from Air New Zealand that any of you people going to the States, if you have a mobile phone called Galaxy 7, you might as well throw it away because they will not allow you to fly. So there's definitely worse about mobile. It might blow you up. I think a lot has happened in mobile teledermatology since I wrote the editorial last year called Mobile is Here to Stay. For example, if I go outside my front door, I can chase a Pokemon. Now, it is normal, apparently, to chase Pokemons, and we've already seen pictures of people wandering around with their mobiles. But actually what's normal is to show your institution, and this is Waikato Hospital. And I'll be talking about how mobile is used at Waikato Hospital for teledermatology. So I learnt that Pokemon Go might be the fastest growing unintentional health app. And this relates to the fact that people walk and actually talk to each other. Extraordinary. Relevant conflicts are as stated. It is my intention to give you a short history of mobile, tell you how I use it, some benefits and limitations. So early mobile phones were bricks, and here's a series of them. They got smaller and smaller and smaller, and now they're getting bigger again. Very interesting. So did you know that the first mobile camera is only 16 years old? What a huge change in the world over that short period of time. Does anyone in this room not have a mobile camera? No one holds up their hands. It's amazing. In 2013, the Chicago Sun-Times sacks its photographers because we're all photographers. Nearly every doctor has one. Nearly every patient has one. And the quality of the images taken by smartphone cameras is really good. In fact, in some cases, fantastic. And these images are easy to share and to store. Yet, many users have minimal knowledge of ownership, institutional and regional policies, consent requirements, obligations, risks, security, and so on. So I can snap, share, chat, care, back up, and find my phone, all with just the tap of a finger. But when I looked for evidence for the effectiveness of mobile teledermatology, I only found 36 articles, and they were mainly descriptive reviews or small studies of half a dozen patients, and really not systematic trials or economic evaluations. But I was interested to find that we are now seeing teledermatology papers from areas of the world where we never heard of teledermatology before, as listed. So there's very little data for the 2 billion smartphone users, or trillion smartphone photo sharing, archiving, and whatever. So although we have heard there are no standards for mobile teledermatology, it is standard care worldwide. There are hundreds of dermatology apps for the consumer. Some are immature, unregulated, harmful, or are they useful, empowering? And for health practitioners, for education and consultation, we've heard about some of them this weekend. Are they safe? So how do I experience mobile telederm in Waikato? I'm going to tell you about multimedia messaging service, social media such as WhatsApp, electronic mail, which is sometimes more secure than other times, a platform for consultations, and the virtual district health board, which is a new innovation of Waikato District Health Board. So I think we're using MMS messaging for the really urgent. So these cases came in when I was preparing this presentation of cases that needed immediate admission or assessment in the hospital. From consultant to registrar and registrar to consultant in these two cases. WhatsApp. If you are a WhatsApp user, people can find you in their contact list. And this doctor, who I've subsequently discovered who he is, but I didn't know at the time, sent me this message, please advise on the rash. And my attempts to phone him up went into nowhere. But subsequently I have discovered why. He is on our virtual District Health Board free consultation service between 6 p.m. and midnight that the hospital board has decided to fund for free for any of the Waikato District Health Board patients to access free care, free emergency care. And it's manned by emergency doctors and GPs with live interactive and store and forward forms of telecommunication. Electronic mail comes through to me at the hospital in various forms and in my private inbox. This one is the only one I've ever received by email through a secure link. The others are all just the normal go to the moon and back, and how many times is it interrupted, I've no idea. My registrar has done an audit of 3 months of holding the telephone in our department. She received 461 calls over that period of time, which led to 100 emails with images. These came from both GPs and hospital doctors requiring urgent assessment of their patients. She assessed the photographs as being adequate in 85% and reduced the number of actual in-person communications by 67%, with an average response time of 4 hours. We've heard it before, but this is using just standard email. New Zealand Teledermatology is a secure platform on Collegium Telemedicus, which is a charitable organisation run by a subcommittee. Richard Wooten is my contact there, where people wanting to set up networks with developing countries can do so free of charge. So I wrote to Richard and said, well, we're not a developing country, but we have exactly the same issues, inadequate access to dermatology patients, and we were allowed to have a network. And we have a website explaining what we do and who we do it for. So we've had nearly 1,500 cases in the last 3 years, with more than 7,500 messages and 6,000 attachments, mainly images. We have 87 per month referrals. Well, that compares to about 300 referrals in the outpatient clinic from 181 general practitioners, mainly in our region. And again, about 4 hours average response time to provide them with useful information. Now, nearly all the images are in fact from smartphones, and the quality of these images, as is obvious, does vary. But from time to time, we have the most fantastic pictures from medical photographers. And they're not using smartphones, but they might. E-triage. So all our referrals to the hospital come electronically, and there is a box called advice. And we can check this advice and decline the referral and type in advice into a box here, and then the patient has to be re-referred if they want it. Well, we're going to adapt this for skin cancer referrals, and it will be a specific teledermatology type of referral, which is funded, tracked, and will be audited. The most exciting thing at Waikato Hospital is the virtual District Health Board. Everywhere you go in the institution, in fact, in the whole of the Waikato region, there are banners and posters and announcement that the Virtual District Health Board allows the population of the district, which is around 400,000 people, to access information, contact their GP, contact their hospital doctors, where you've approved it. You don't have to answer strangers. It's just your real patients that you can do. And that can be by video, voice, text, and it's easy to attach images. This is in collaboration with a company called HealthTap, which is a startup based in Los Angeles and started only 5 years ago. It has 100,000 doctors participating. The Waikato doctors have a sort of subset of HealthTap, especially for us, so that if our patients wanted a consultation, it's free, whereas if you want a consultation through HealthTap, you must pay to obtain a personal consultation, yet there are more than 3 billion answers to questions. So if a patient types in, what's the treatment for acne, the algorithm will find out other similar questions and doctors' answers to those questions. And this is anticipated to reduce unnecessary appointments to general practice. It's anticipated to reduce unnecessary referrals, and we'll see. It is heavily invested in by my district health board and being audited and so on, but it's brand new. So you can read more about it by looking on our website, which is Waikato District Health, Waikato DHB.health.nz, and there's pages on what the doctors need to know and what the patients need to know. And we also are now introducing non-doctor health professionals to the app as well. And this is available on mobile or desktop or tablet. So you can have questions and answers, inbox consultations, live consultations, curbside consultations, that's doctor to doctor. Peer review, which results in credits with the AMA, and grand rounds. And what's amazing is it's integrated with our electronic health record. So if I do a consultation and I retain a SOAP note, subjective objective assessment plan, that is recorded not only in my hospital's notes under the progress notes electronic record, but it's also recorded in the general practitioners automatically with no effort from me. And integrated prescribing and blood tests are on the way. It's amazing what's happened in such a short period of time. So this is examples of the sort of questions that get answered, and if you think that a question is answered well by another doctor, you like it, which means that question moves up. Similarly, your own consultations are liked or not, move down. So you have to be quite brave to take part in this, and some of our doctors don't like it at all. So, you know, this is a typical sort of consultation. This is a happy patient who saw me in a normal consultation in clinic, and she's just texting me basically to say, hey, your treatment worked, and that she didn't need to come for her next outpatient appointment, which was great because we could give that to somebody else. And this is what the SOAP note looks like, and when you save it, that goes to the records. So there's the patient, there's the doctor using mobile phones to communicate. I can do this work anywhere in the world. I haven't done it while I've been here because I've switched off, but I could. Here's with another patient who lives an hour and a half's drive away. He's got heart failure, he can't drive, his family can't bring him, so his consultation is very easy over HealthTap. At a normal consultation appointment, this is just replacing a normal appointment in outpatients, so instead of the face-to-face, it's done over HealthTap. And these are some of the curbside consults. So a doctor, a GP, for example, wants a quick answer to a question. And they find this absolutely instant because I actually get an instant message, which I can ignore. I have to answer it within 24 hours, else bells and whistles start upsetting me. But you can switch them off, actually. It's quite clever. And some of the pictures are absolutely amazing from people who've never even taken a photo before, and some of them, of course, are complete and utter awful. So benefits, well, it's convenient, it's inexpensive, it's high-quality imaging, getting better all the time, and it's incredibly easy to use, to photograph, to share, to archive. You can back up automatically, and it can be made secure if you use Touch ID, if you use an 8-character screensaver, if you encrypt your data. But not everybody does that. The patient may refuse to be photographed, and we know that only a small percentage of patients have actually given informed consent, whether verbal or written, for such consultations, and they don't understand them anyway. There's lack of documentation of such consent. They don't know about where the images are. Who knows? They're somewhere in the ether. And what on earth are they being used for? So photographers are untrained and the pictures are poor, but they are getting better all the time. 50% of users of smartphones do not have a screen access code. So let's do a poll. Who doesn't have a screen access code on their smartphone? Nobody's brave enough to, or one or two. Let's fix that. I'm sure your 10-year-old grandchild will tell you how to do it. Personal health data is unprotected and widely dispersed, and of course that's illegal. My teledermatology stuff is all illegal. But what do? You carry on. Inadequate or absent archiving. So that means that we're not identifying who the patient is. But actually, if we do identify who the patient is, we're not allowed to do that, so there's a degree of immaturity regarding the rules for this. And of course, most people's smartphone images are a complete confusion of clinical and personal. So yes, our institution, like many others, has a policy. Written authority of the patient required. Clinical images must be stored in a central repository. But these are impossible to ensure happen. Patient consent form. We know that from a couple of studies that have recently been published and are about to be published, that less than 10% of dermatologists get written consent for their patients when they photograph their skin lesions. So just think about that. I would draw your attention to the New Zealand Medical Association's guide for medical students and doctors called Clinical Images and the Use of Personal Mobile Devices. This is an excellent document and really gives food for thought about how to look after images. And not everybody doing teledermatology knows the word teledermatology. Most of them just think it's dermatology. So image storage, images are part of the clinical record, and the legal requirements are just the same as they are for any other part of the written clinical record. They must be identifiable. They're owned by the institution. They must be stored for at least 10 years. They must not be destroyed. How many people take a photograph, share it, and then destroy it? If you've shared it, it's not destroyed. But if you take it, you can't destroy it. It's part of the record. Just as if you write in old-fashioned clinical notes and realize you've made a mistake, you're not allowed to rip the page out. You have to cross it, sign it, and date it. Same with images. The patient has a right to a copy. But you really shouldn't be holding them on your individual phone and disks. And I'm the worst offender. Institutions haven't caught up. They haven't got the space to store all these images. They don't have the technology or the manpower to do it. So our hospital has got a make-do thing called Sharepoint for our medical image archive. It's got about 50% of the archive in it, and the last 12 months are not included. So this is the institution's response to the idea. Of course, it set up a committee to evaluate image storage. And a note that I was invited to the inaugural meeting, and then my invitation was cancelled. And they said, "Oh, we're not ready for you yet, Dr. Oakley." And I was sent a couple of documents to peruse, and it doesn't even mention dermatology on this huge document of where images come from and what happens and how we're going to retrieve them and the safety and the security. And I'll leave you with the last one. Just to make you understand that mobile is here to stay, for better or for worse. Thank you.